Sayyid Muhammad Jaffry to recite from the Holy Quran. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
صدق الله العلي العظيم.
Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. The ayahs to be recited will be from Surah Taha, ayah 67 to 73. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. فأوجس في نفسه خيفة موسى قلنا لا تخف إنك أنت الأعلى فأوجس في نفسه خيفة موسى قلنا لا تخف إنك أنت الأعلى وألق ما في يمينك تلقف ما صنعوا إنما صنعوا كيد ساحر ولا يفلح الساحر حيث أتى فألقي السحرة سجدا قالوا آمنا فألقي السحرة سجدا قالوا آمنا برب هارون وموسى فألقي السحرة سجدا قالوا
قال آمنتم له قبل أن آذن لكم إنه لكبيركم الذي علمكم السحر فلأقطعن أيديكم وأرجلكم من خلاف ولأصلبنكم في جذوع النخل ولتعلمن أينا أشد عذابا وأبقى قالوا لن نؤثرك على ما جاءنا من البينات والذي فطرنا قالوا لن نؤثرك على ما جاءنا من البينات والذي فطرنا فاقض ما أنت قاض إنما تقضي هذه الحياة الدنيا فاقض ما أنت قاض فاقض ما أنت قاض إنما تقضي هذه الحياة الدنيا إنا آمنا بربنا ليغفر لنا خطايانا إنا آمنا بربنا ليغفر لنا خطايانا وما أكرهتنا عليه من السحر والله خير وأبقى صدق الله العلي العظيم صلوا على محمد وآل محمد
Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. In the name of Allah, the Merciful, the Beneficent. Then Musa felt a fear within his heart. We said, "Do not be afraid. Indeed, you will have the upper hand. Throw down what is in your right hand, and it will swallow what they have conjured. What they have conjured is only a magician's trick, and the magician does not fare well wherever he may show up." Thereat the magicians fell down prostrating. They said, "We have believed in the Lord of Harun and Musa." He said, "Did you believe in him before I should permit you? He is indeed your chief who has taught you magic. Surely I will cut off your hands and feet from opposite sides, and I will crucify you on the trunks of palm trees, and you will know which one of us can inflict a severer and more lasting punishment." They said, "We will never prefer you to the clear proofs which have come to us, and to him who originated us. Decide whatever you want to decide. You can only decide about the life of this world. We have indeed believed in our Lord, that He may forgive us our offenses and the magic you compelled us to perform. Allah is better and more lasting." Sadaqallahu al-Aliyyul Azim. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
से जब भी मुझे राह से हटाने आए, लोग जब भी मुझे मुश्किल में सताने आए, मैंने घबरा के कहा, मौला ली अदरिकनी, अंबिया बढ़ के मेरा हाथ बटाने आए। अली को खाकियों से तोलने वालों का दम निकले, हजारों खम हुए सीधे, मगर इनके न हम निकले। सलावत। Like we all know that today is 6th Muharram, so I'm going to recite related to 6th Muharram. Moulana Asghar alayhi salam. माने असगर को जो झूले में न पाया होगा, माने असगर को जो झूले में न पाया होगा, रात भर चैन उसे, रात भर चैन उसे किस तरह आया होगा, माने असगर को जो झूले में न पाया होगा। माँ यही सोच के रोती थी लहू के आंसू, शैने किस तरह किया होगा तेरे खून से वज़ू, तीर जब असग़रे, तीर जब असग़रे बेशीर ने खाया होगा, माने असग़र को जो झूले में ना पाया होगा। कुछ जली लकड़ियाँ झूले की उठा लाई थी, मानो जब छूट के जिंदान से घर आई थी। हाल असग़र का यूं, हाल असग़र का यूं सुहरा को सुनाया होगा। माने असग़र को जो झूले में ना पाया होगा। जिंदगी भर कभी साए में न बैठी मादर, कहती थी धूप में सोता है मेरा नूर नजर। मेरी तो कब्र पे भी, मेरी तो कब्र पे भी धूप का साया होगा। माने असग़र को जो झूले में ना पाया होगा। सलावत।
बारी दीगर सलावात। As these are the final 2-3 days, Mu'mineen wa Mu'minat, we might go a little bit over our set time. So if you allow us a few more minutes for the salam, and Maulana will inshallah sit closer to 6 o'clock today. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. لك ولبيك يا حسين، لك ولبيك يا حسين، لك ولبيك يا حسين، لك ولبيك يا حسين. For you and with you, Mawla, for you and with you, Hussain, for you and with you, Mawla, for you and with you, Hussain. When Yazidi slings and arrows, Madad Abbas Dilavar. When Yazidi slings and arrows, Madad Abbas Dilavar. Ashqiya taunted a Mawla, Ashqiya taunted a Mawla. You have no one, Ibn Zahra. Laka wa labbaik ya Husayna, Laka wa labbaik ya Hussain. For you and with you, Mawla, for you and with you, Hussain. When Shabih Mustafa Mustafa fell. Moula said this in his farewell. When
Shabih Mustafa fell, Moula said this in his farewell.
how will I carry you, Akbar? How will I carry you, Akbar? How will I face Layla? Laka wa labbaik ya Hussaina. Laka wa labbaik ya Hussain. Please join us. For you and with you, Mawla. For you and with
You Hussain.
holding a saghar, said Mawla, inna lillah batilahi.
Holding a saghar, said Mawla, inna lillah batilahi.
Tell me how to bury a saghar.
Tell me how to bury a saghar,
how to comfort his sakina. Laka wa labbaik ya Hussaina. Laka wa labbaik ya Hussain. Everyone, for you and with you, Mawla.
for you and with you Hussain.
رضا بقضاء وتسليما لأمر مولى whispered. رضا
بقضاء وتسليما لأرض مولى whispered.
Heaven is still reverberating. Heaven is still reverberating from the whisper, from the sajda. Laka wa labbaik ya Hussaina. Laka wa labbaik ya Hussain. Everyone, for you and with
You, O Mawla, for you and with you Hussain.
why are you hiding, O Baba, from Sakina? Bata?
Why are you hiding, O Baba, from Sakina? Bata?
Come to me, come to the Maqtal.
Come to me, come to the Maqtal.
تعال إلي يا بني. لك ولبيك يا حسينا. لك ولبيك يا حسين. Everyone, for you and with you, Mawla. For you and
with you Hussain.
Yawm Ashura, we killed every Hussaini. Ashkiya said, Yawm
Ashura, we killed every Hussaini. Ashkiya said,
Lady Zainab said, Hussaini. Lady Zainab said, Hussaini. Shia will live till Qiyamah. Lady Zainab said, Hussaini. Shia will live till Qiyamah. Laka wa labbaik ya Hussaina. لك ولبيك يا حسين. For you and with you, O Mawla.
For you and with you, Hussain.
When the Zalim tried to suppress voices of freedom and justice, when the Zalim
tried to suppress voices of freedom and justice,
we will stand up for the Madhloom. We will stand up for the Madhloom as Hussainis with the Nawha. لك ولبيك يا حسينا. لك ولبيك يا حسين. For you and with you, O Mawla. For you and with you, Hussain. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Mu'mineen and Mu'minat, today is the 6th Majlis in the series of 9 Majalis on the topic of Karbala, the ultimate trial, and we have the honor of having Hujjatul Islam Moulana Syed Ali Aqib Jaffry recite these majalis. We've had 5 profound majalis on this topic. Please welcome Moulana Syed Ali Aqib Jaffry to the member with a loud salawat, and kindly stand up if you can. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Baradigar salawat.
For the sponsors of today's program, Suratul Fatiha. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام على سيد الأنبياء والمرسلين وخاتم النبيين سيدنا ونبينا وشفيع ذنوبنا وطبيب قلوبنا وبالقاسم محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين الغر الميامين المعصومين من يومنا هذا إلى يوم الدين. أما بعد، فقد قال الله تبارك وتعالى في كتابه المجيد وخطابه المتين، وهو أصدق القائلين وقوله الحق. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. أحسب الناس أن يتركوا أن يقولوا آمنا وهم لا يفتنون. صلوات. This life is going to be full of trials. Every moment, every decision that we take is a test from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And for us to succeed in this test, it was important that guidance comes from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It was necessary for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to guide us in the decisions that we are going to take throughout our lives. That is why when Hazrat Adam alayhi salam and his progeny was commanded to leave the station that they were in, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, فَإِمَّا يَأْتِيَنَّكُم مِّنِّي هُدًى. When my guidance comes to you, or a better and precise translation would be, if my guidance comes to you, and it surely will, فَمَنْ تَبِعَ هُدَايَ, whoever follows my guidance, there is no fear for him, neither will he grieve. So test starts after guidance comes to us. Another important requirement for test is that we be given the ability to choose between the options that there are. And the more options they are available, the difficult the test is going to become. Sometimes you have a multiple choice question where you have to pick between true and false. That is a simpler test. Sometimes it's a multiple choice question with 4 options to choose from. The test becomes difficult. Sometimes there are 10 options to choose from. It becomes even more difficult. So it was important that we be given the freedom to choose between the different options, and that there be options out there available for us. Otherwise, test would make no meaning if there were no options out there. If there was only one option available and you were told you have the right to choose your spouse and this is the only choice you have. There is no choice. So for test to take place, there has to be options available, and you should have the free will to choose between the different options. So that is how this dunya, this world is set up. And when you are given the free will to choose between good and bad, naturally some people will make the wrong decisions and there will be evil that will be seen in this world. Evil was bound to show up in this world as a result of the poor choices we make. It was not intended by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It was a consequence of testing us and giving us the free will to choose. And why is Allah testing us? So that we can fully develop the potential that we have and become eligible for the higher divine blessings that await us. Another important thing with tests and azmaish is that it is not going to end. You pass one test, just like a boxing match, you pass one round, you finish one round, and round 2 starts. And you finish that round 3 starts. In life, a similar thing happens. You fulfill one test of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala successfully, there's yet another higher, difficult test waiting for you. You successfully accomplish that task, another test is waiting for you. And in order to successfully pass these tests, it is very important that we align ourselves with the teachings and values of Islam. That is the only way we will be able to successfully pass these tests. Aligning ourselves with the principles of Islam, which might conflict with the norms of the culture we are living in. The choice between whether you choose to follow your culture or your religion, the teachings of Islam, is yet another test we live every day of our lives. Whether it comes to making decisions regarding where you want to marry your children, the parameters you use to make those decisions is a test for you. Do you align yourselves with the teachings of Islam? Or do you align yourself with the teachings of the society and the culture and the norms that are prevalent? The Holy Prophet, in the statement, when he advised Amirul Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali. He said, إِذَا رَأَيْتَ النَّاسِ يَشْتَغِلُونَ بِالْفَرَائِضِ Bil-Faza'il, when you see people engaging in the mustahabat, you engage yourself with the fara'is. Don't look at what people are doing. They might not necessarily be doing the right thing. So if they are engaged in extras and have ignored the root, the asl, the wajib, the necessary, you engage yourself with the necessary. Extras, they are an icing on the wajibat. But if there is no wajib to support the mustahabat, then the mustahabat will be of no use. So this, and the second advice he gave is رَأَيْتَ النَّاسَ, when you see people يَشْتَغِلُونَ بِعَمَلِ الدُّنْيَا, when you see people engaged with the actions of this dunya, you engage yourself with the action of the akhirah. This prioritizing akhirah over dunya is one of the first and difficult tests we all have to go through. If we have prioritized and if we value akhirah more than the dunya, a lot of the decisions become easy to take. This dunya, and you see if you look at the Holy Quran, and that is why I say again and again that we need to familiarize ourselves with the teachings of this book. If you read this book, the love of this dunya will diminish, and the love of akhirah will increase. And it is only through valuing akhirah more than this dunya that we will be able to pass the tests we have to take. It is only through that that you will be able to bear the hardships that comes in this dunya as a result of making the right choices. I would like to give an example from the verses that were recited today. The story of Prophet Musa ﷺ when he went to the palace of Pharaoh. The tradition says that Allah tested Pharaoh through Musa and Harun. When they entered the palace, they were wearing very simple dresses. Imagine the king sitting on the throne with all the golds and the riches with him. And two ordinary people, two shepherds, for example, they come to them and they say, we are the messengers of Allah to you, and we have from the Lord of the universe. A natural reaction would be, Allah chose you from all of His creation? That would be a natural reaction. Allah tested Pharaoh through these two people in this state. The tests sometimes go against how we want to see things. One of the objections the people of Quraysh of Mecca had against the Holy Prophet was this: why did Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala put prophethood in this man, where there are others who are more qualified? They were looking at their cultural values and norms, and they did not realize that social status or financial status is not a criteria for taqwa or closeness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So when Prophet Musa alayhi salam went to Fir'aun and invited him, and he showed his miracles. And he said, I can do better than this. And they agreed on a day and a time where the grand decision was to be made. Fir'aun brought his magicians, and Prophet Musa and Harun were on the other side. And then when the stage opened, Hazrat Musa alayhi salam invited the messengers to truth. And the way he invited them, the messengers, the magicians, they realized that the way he is inviting us is not how a magician would invite. They felt that these are the messengers of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and they started to discuss among themselves. And the Holy Quran talks about that. And then they decided to discuss among themselves, and they hid this matter from Fir'aun. They did not tell Fir'aun. And in the tafsir, you'll find that they decided that if Musa ﷺ wins, we will accept his religion. They had decided that amongst themselves and had hidden that from Fir'aun. And then the competition started, and they asked Musa, are you going to be the one who starts, or should we throw? Should we show our trick? And Musa ﷺ said, you start. And they threw their ropes, and it appeared to the crowd as if they were snakes. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala addressed Musa ﷺ, don't fear. Innaka antal ala, you are the one who is going to win. Alqi ma fi yaminik, throw what is in your right hand, it is going to swallow what they have created. A magician will never win, no matter wherever he comes from. So when they saw the miracle of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the verse says, فَأُلْقِيَ السَّحْرَةُ سُجَّدًا, they all went into prostration. قَالُوا آمَنَّا بِرَبِّ هَارُونَ وَمُوسَى. This was a big test for them. They are fighting on the side of the king, and the messengers prostrating at that point meant that the king has lost. Sorry, the king and the magician, they have lost. So the magician's prostration would mean that Fir'aun has lost. They knew very well that this prostration meant that the king, Fir'aun, could even kill them. But they had to submit to truth. These are magicians. In Dua Arafah, Imam Hussain alayhi salatu was salam says, in Dua Arafah, he says that Allah guided them to the truth after years of them being away from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. يَأْكُلُونَ رِزْقَهُ وَيَعْبُدُونَ غَيْرَهُ. They were eating the rizq of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and they were worshipping other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And we all are eating from the sufra and from the table of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. يَأْكُلُونَ رِزْقَهُ وَيَعْبُدُونَ غَيْرَهُ. They were eating from the rizq of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and they were worshipping others. Now here Fir'aun, they passed this test, they submitted. Another higher level test started for these magicians. Fir'aun turned to them, he said, Amantum lahu qabla an a'dhana lakum. Who gave you the permission to believe in them? You believed in them before seeking my permission? Innahu lakabirukum, he is your teacher who taught you magic. This was pre-planned. This was pre-planned. And he said, فَلَا أُقَطِّعَنَّ أَيْدِيَكُمْ وَأَرْجُلَكُمْ مِنْ خِلَافٍ. Verily, I'm going to cut your hands and your foot from the opposite sides, right hand and left foot. وَلَا أُصَلِّبَنَّكُمْ فِي جُزُوءِ النَّخْلِ. And I'm going to hang you in the trunks of the palm trees. so that you should know ayyuna ashaddu azaban wa abqa. Which one of us, meaning me or the Lord of Musa that you have believed in, which one of us is more severe in punishment and more long lasting? So Iman Lali Ana pehla marhala tha. That was the first level of their test that they successfully passed. Now Fir'aun is subjecting them to the test of fear, of the loss of their lives. You believed, this is what I'm going to do to you. In that one moment, the magicians had realized the truth, and by realizing the truth, their aqidah regarding the akhirat and the dunya and God and His powers and the limited nature of this dunya and the eternal nature of akhirah, everything had become obvious on them. And that is why they were able to pass this next test. They said, قَالُوا لَن نُؤْثِرَكَ عَلَى مَا جَاءَنَا مِنَ الْبَيِّنَاتِ. We are not going to prefer you, we are not going to choose you over the clear signs that we have seen. وَالَّذِي فَطَرَنَا. We are not going to choose you over the Creator who created us. Then this statement of the magicians, فَقْضِي مَا أَنْتَ قَاضٍ. Do whatever you want to do. Do فَقْضِي, qizawat karo. Decide whatever you want to decide against us. إِنَّمَا تَقْضِي هَذِهِ الْحَيَاةَ الدُّنْيَا. You can only decide for this dunya for us. जो भी फैसला करना है कर लो, तुम ज्यादा से ज्यादा हमारी दुनिया को खराब कर सकते हो. Inna amanna bi rabbina. We believed in our Lord. لِيَغْفِرْ لَنَا خَطَايَانَا. So that He forgives us our sins. وَمَا أَكْرَهْتَنَا عَلَيْهِ مِنَ السَّحْرِ. और उस चीज को जिसके ऊपर तूने हमें मजबूर करके जादू करने पर मजबूर किया. We believe so that He forgives us our sins and what you have forced us to do through this sihr. Wallahu khairun wa abqa. Allah is the one who is khair and more long lasting. Their aqidah, the value they had put on akhirah was the reason that they were able to succeed in this test. And they were killed that very same night. Imagine saying this in the king with the full audience. Everybody was invited to see the victory of Fir'aun over Musa, but then it ended up against Fir'aun. He killed all of them, all of the magicians. They passed their test because they valued akhirah over this dunya. That is why you see in the Holy Quran, that is why you see Shaitan when he was kicked out of Jannah, ثُمَّ لَآتِيَنَّهُمْ مِنْ بَيْنِ أَيْدِيهِمْ وَمِنْ خَلْفِهِمْ. I'm going to come to them from the front and from the back and from the right and from the left. And you're not going to find the majority of the humans to be shakirin, to be thankful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the Imam says coming from the front means وَحَوِّنُوا عَلَيْهِمْ أَمْرَ الْآخِرَةِ. Shaitan says I'm going to belittle akhirah for them. Akhirat ko wo arzish, wo qimat, wo ahmiyat nahi denge. Coming from the back, آمُرُهُمْ بِجَمْعِ الْمَالِ وَالْبُخْلِ بِهَا عَنِ الْحُقُوقِ. In summary, I will glorify this dunya for them and I will belittle the akhirah for them. Yet another example from the life of Imam Hussain alayhi salatu wasalam. Please say salawat. I've mentioned this story last year, but since this story is not repeated a lot, there is benefit in repetition. In the time of Imam Hussain alayhi salatu wasalam, in the reign of Muawiyah, as he was making arrangements for the succession of his caliphate to Yazid, he wanted to put Yazid in a position of influence. So he wrote to Marwan, the governor of Medina. He said, I would like you to request the hand of the daughter of Ja'far bin Abdullah. Her name was Kulsum, her hand for Yazid. And through this he wanted to establish a marital tie with the family of the Ahlul Bayt. And that he thought that this was going to give them additional benefit when time would come for Yazid to claim Khilafah. So Marwan sent the request to Abdullah ibn Ja'far, and he said that the affair of my daughter is in the hands of Imam Hussain alayhi salatu wasalam, whatever he decides. And when the matter was brought in front of him, he set a date on which he's going to respond. And when that date came, Marwan came to the mosque, and there were other people who were also there in the mosque. And Marwan opened the discussion, sent in the request once again in this statement. He said, Amirul Mu'mineen has ordered me to seek the hand of Kulsum for Yazid. And he assigns a mahriya, a dowry for her, according to the wishes of her father, however high it might be. Mahriya is going to be whatever you decide, however high, a blank check, along with the friendship between the two tribes. Banu Umayyah and Bani Hashim, there was animosity between the two tribes. So this marital tie it comes with an unlimited dowry, whatever you decide to fill in the blank check, and friendship between the two tribes, and a payment of all the outstanding debt of her father, valuing his dunya. Then he addressed to the Imam as follows, and this is important. He said, you should know that those who are going to envy you over your relationship with Yazid are far more than those who are going to envy Yazid over his tie with you. वो लोग जो इस रिश्ते की वजह से आप पे गिब्ता करेंगे, आप पे रश्क करेंगे, वो कहीं ज्यादा हैं उनसे जो यजीद पे रश्क करेंगे. This was an insult. And not only there, he didn't stop only there. And then he said, not only that, you should also know that it is surprising for me that Yazid is appointing a mahriya for someone who is not of his status. This fact that he's assigned a mahriya is enough of a surprise for me, leave alone the fact that it is unlimited. And that people use his tawassul to Yazid in order to seek rain. This is the status of Yazid. So please accept this proposal. So imagine someone being put into this spot. A request coming in from the king of that time, from the leader of the nation of that time, for the request of the hand of a daughter. And here the values and the decision that the Imam took. Imam started with the hamd of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, alhamdulillahi allazi ikhtarana li nafse. Tamam hamd ho us khuda ke liye jisne apne liye hame ikhtiyar kiya. All praise to Allah who chose us for himself. Wartazana li deene, aur apne deen ke liye humse razi hua. Wastafana ala khalqih, and he chose us over all of his creation. وَأَنزَلَ عَلَيْنَا كِتَابَهُ وَوَحْيَهُ, and he revealed on us his holy book and his revelation. وَإِمُ اللَّهِ لَا يَنْقُصُنَا أَحَدٌ مِّنْ حَقِّنَا. It does not happen that anyone takes a haqq away from us, that a haqq is taken away from them in this dunya and the akhirah. जो भी हमारे हक में किसी चीज की कमी करे, इस दुनिया और आखिरत में उनके हक में से कमी कर दी जाती है. وَلَا يَكُونُ عَلَيْنَا دَوْلَةً, and nobody has rule over us except what happens إِلَّا كَانَتْ لَنَا الْآقِبَةِ, except that aqibah and the end is for us. Aqibat hamari hai, we will win. And then he said, Ya Marwan, I've heard what you have said. I've heard what you have said. Your statement, and he responds to each of the statements that he meant, one after the other. He said, your statement that his mahar is to be decided by his father, no matter how high it be. He says, Fala amri, law aradna zalik, ma adawna sunnata Rasulillah. If we were to do that, if we were to raise the mahar, we would never exceed the mahar that the Holy Prophet has set in his sunnah. For his women and for his children, for his Ahl Bayt. We would never go more than that, and that is 480 dirhams. If we were to do that. وَأَمَّا قَوْلُكَ مَا قَضَاءِ دَيْنِ أَبِيهَا, that this comes with the payment of all outstanding debt. Tamam qarz ada kar denge. Beautiful statement. Imam says, فَمَتَا كُنَّا نِسَاؤُنَا يَقْزِينَ عَنَّا دُيُونَنَا. ये कब से होने लगा कि हमारी बेटियां हमारे कर्जों को अदा करें? Since when? Our daughters are going to pay the debt of their fathers. And this statement is important. One of the reasons why I brought this whole khutbah and I'm reciting it. وَأَمَّا صُلْحُ بَيْنَ هَذَيْنِ الْحَيَّيْنِ, the friendship between these two tribes. That was also one of the offers on the table. فَإِنَّا قَوْمٌ آدَيْنَا فِي اللَّهِ آدَيْنَاكُمْ فِي اللَّهِ. We are a nation who have taken you an enemy because of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَلَمْ نَكُنْ نُصَالِحُكُمْ لِلدُّنْيَا. We took you as our enemies because of Allah. How can we befriend you because of dunya? हमारी दुश्मनी तुमसे खुदा की खातिर है, ना हमारी जात की खातिर है, ना किसी और चीज की खातिर है. तो दुनिया के लिए हम तुमसे दोस्ती कैसे कर लें? फल अमरी, मेरी उम्र की कसम, मेरी जान की कसम, फलक़द अयन नसब फ़कैफ़ सबब. जब खूनी रिश्ता हमारे दरमियान दोस्ती बरकरार नहीं रख सकता, तो ये शादी का रिश्ता कैसे? When blood relationships could not help develop ties between these two relationships, these two tribes, how can a marital relationship? And your statement that I'm surprised Yazid is assigning a mahar for somebody. Well, don't be surprised. فَقَدْ اسْتَمْحَرَ مَنْ هُوَ خَيْرٌ مِّنْ يَزِيدٍ وَمِنْ أَبِي يَزِيدٍ وَمِنْ جَدِّ يَزِيدٍ. Verily, in brackets, the Holy Prophet has appointed mahar. महर उसने करार दिया जो यजीद से भी बेहतर था, उसके बाप से भी बेहतर था, उसके दादा से भी बेहतर था. He appointed mahar, who is better than Yazid, who is better than his father, who is better than his grandfather. And the fact that you say Yazid has no equal, उसका कोई कुफ नहीं है. فَمَنْ كَانَ كُفُّهُ قَبْلَ الْيَوْمِ فَهُوَ كُفُّهُ الْيَوْمِ. Whoever was his kuf before today, वही उसका kuf. He is the kuf after today. ما زادته इमारतहु फिल किफाअ शैअन. इस हुकूमत ने उसके कुफ में जर्रा बराबर भी इजाफा नहीं किया. This kingdom that he thinks he has, this imarat, has not increased him any bit. He's the same. His status is the same that was before he got to this imara. And the fact that Yazid's name is used to seek rain, well, it is the name of the Holy Prophet that people seek. To seek rain from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And another interesting remark, وَأَمَّا قَوْلُكَ, your statement, कि जो लोग इस रिश्ते की वजह से आप पर रश्क करेंगे वो कहीं ज्यादा है उनसे जो यजीद पर रश्क करेंगे. People, those who are going to envy you for this relationship are far more than those. And we find this in today's communities, our communities as well, when as ties made, people have their own metrics of evaluating who is the beneficiary of this relationship. Imam says, فَيَغْبِتُنَا بِهِ أَهْلُ الْجَهَلِ. Those who are going to envy us, wo ahle jahil hai. They are the ignorant people. وَيَغْبِتُهُ بِنَا أَهْلُ الْأَقْلِ. And those who are going to envy him for this relationship, wo ahle aql hai. अहले अकल यजीद पर रश्क करेंगे कि उसका रिश्ता इस घर में हो रहा है, और अहले जाहिल अहले जहल हम पर रश्क करेंगे कि इनका रिश्ता उस घर में हो रहा है. So based on the price we put on this dunya and the price we put on the virtues of akhirah will determine whether we belong to the Ahlul Jahl or to the Ahlul Dunya. Please recite in their salawat. Salli ala Muhammad, Ali Muhammad. So putting and placing dunya in its own place and akhirah in its own place, only that is going to help us pass this test. That we choose akhirah over the dunya. If somebody values the dunya more than the akhirah, then he will not succeed in passing this test. So we need to work there. And we need to see how the Imams have trained their companions to make these choices, how they glorified akhirah for them and they belittled dunya for them. One of the statements you find in the traditions is that when they talk about the ni'mat of this dunya, they say that the blessings of this dunya are such that the more you hear about it, you set an expectation, and when you encounter those blessings, you end up saying they did not meet my expectations. जब उन नेमतों से इंसान रूबरू होता है, कहते हैं जैसा सुना था उससे कमतर पाया. But the blessings of the hereafter are such that you have heard about them, you hear about them, but when you will encounter them in the hereafter, man will end up saying, it has exceeded my expectations. दुनिया की नेमतों से जब रूबरू होते हैं, जैसा सुना था उससे कमतर पाया, लेकिन आखिरत की नेमतों से जब इंसान रूबरू होगा, जैसा सुना था उससे बढ़कर पाया. ये क्या कर रहे हैं? What is it that the Imam is doing here? He's glorifying the akhirah for us. And if the akhirah is glorifying, they're doing exactly the opposite of what shaitan is trying to do. Shaitan is trying to belittle the akhirah and glorify this dunya. And the Imam is doing the exact opposite. And whoever passes this test has to face yet another difficult test. This is one of the tests. So if you have succeeded in glorifying the akhirah for yourself, and akhirat is glorified for you, and you want akhirah over this dunya, and you're ready to sacrifice your dunya for the akhirah, shaitan has a new trick for you. He has a new test for you. And that is what he meant when he said, I'm going to deceive them from the right hand side. Through religion, through good deeds. I'll talk about this in detail, inshallah, some other day, tomorrow maybe. We're running out of time. But very quickly, in a few phrases, those groups that you see today who are willing to kill Muslims in the name of Islam, thinking that they are going to go to paradise because they have killed certain people, they are the ones who have been deceived by shaitan. They do not like this dunya. They don't want this dunya. They are willing to sacrifice their dunya. A person who kills himself is not a lover of this dunya. He's a lover of akhirah. But because of the lack of basira, because of ignorance, shaitan traps him yet differently. आखिरत की लालच में अपनी आखिरत को बर्बाद कर देगा. Khawarij, क्या Khawarij? What did the Khawarij do? They were fighting Amirul Mu'mineen as-salatu was-salam. Allahumma salli ala. For the love of the akhirah, they decided to kill our Imam on the 19th because they said this good deed needs to be done in a blessed night. This is what happens when you pass the first test. You value akhirah more than this dunya, but you don't have basirat. You don't have insight. That is why insight is even more important once you pass the first test. Of the people that were in Karbala, they had been deceived by shaitan from all four sides. There were people who valued their dunya more than the akhirah. Those who were there for the kingdom of Ray and the other riches that they were supposed to get from the caliph, they had sold their akhirah for their dunya because they valued their dunya more than the akhirah. And there were others as well. It's a very sad statement from the Imam. He says, it was very strange to see on the day of Ashur, the soldiers were moving towards the haram of Ahlul Bayt in order to seek the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They were ready to kill the Ahlul Bayt and loot the property and burn their camps fi sabilillah, in the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Imam made sure that the enemy and his friends knew why they are there and what is going on. He told the enemy companions on the day of Ashur, he sat on the camel, put on his amama and his libas and his dress of the Holy Prophet, and he entered the battlefield. And when you go to the battlefield in a camel, it means that you're not going there to fight. You're going there to deliver a sermon or talk. Because camel is not very agile animal as opposed to a horse. He went there and in the middle of the battlefield he delivered a sermon. The first Majlis Imam Hussain ﷺ recited on the day of Ashur amongst the enemies. He introduced himself after hamd of sana of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He introduced himself and the holy status that he has. And he even said to his companions of the enemy, to the enemy soldiers, he said, there might be people among you who would have seen me on the shoulders of the Holy Prophet. There are people among you who have heard this statement of the Holy Prophet, that Hassan and Hussain, they are the prince of the youth of paradise. You must have heard that. What is my crime? What have I done? Have I turned a halal into an haram? Have I turned a haram into a halal? And then when he stopped to see what they have to say, they started to make noises and make fun of him. And then he again, out of his miraculous nature, he silenced them and he continued his sermon. He continued his sermon saying, this dunya has not been loyal to anyone. Whoever was after this dunya did not end up getting this dunya. He talked about the disloyalty of this dunya and what this dunya has done to those who run after this dunya. Yet again, when he wanted to see if there was anyone who had accepted his advice, there was no response. No positive response. They again started to make fun of him and he again silenced them. And then he started to invoke their sentiments by saying, if my advice is not having any effect on you, listen to the sounds that are coming from the camps. Listen to the cries of the babies and the women of the Ahlul Bayt. Show some mercy on them. So he started his majlis with the hamd of Allah. He expressed his fazail in the first part of the majlis, and then he expressed and advised them against this dunya in the second part of the majlis, and at the end of the majlis, he read his masaib. The masaib of the haram of the Ahlul Bayt. And at the end of the majlis, a person came forward with a stone in his hand, and he hurled the stone at Imam Hussain alayhi salatu wasalam. The stone hit his forehead and he started to bleed. The Imam returned back to the camps. He said nobody should come out except my sister Zainab. He did not want the other women to see him in this state. Lady Zainab came out and she sees Imam in this state. She asked him, did you not introduce yourself? Did you not tell them who you are? Imam said, yes, I told them everything. And then Imam cried on that day for the enemies. He said, what should I do? Muli'at butunuhum min al-haram. Their stomachs are full of haram. If the stomachs are full of haram, even if the admonisher, the advisor is someone like Imam Hussain, it is not going to have any effect on the other person. Muli'at butunuhum min al-haram. On the night of Ashur, the Imam called his companions and said to them, tomorrow everybody will be killed. If you stay with me, everyone is going to be killed. Take advantage of the darkness of the night and leave. But nobody left. Nobody left, and they expressed their loyalty, and the Imam started to show them and tell them their station in heaven. At this point, one of the youth of Ahlul Bayt, standing at a distance, looking at the gathering and hearing what is going on, he interrupted and he asked, oh my uncle, am I also going to be killed tomorrow? Kya kal ke shuhada mein mera bhi naam hai? The Imam turned to him, but before answering his question, the Imam asked him another question. He said, Kaif al-maut indak? How do you see maut? How do you find death? He said, Ahla min al-asal, sweeter than honey, my uncle. And then he repeated his question, am I going to be among the martyrs of Karbala tomorrow, fearing that maybe because of his tender age, he might not be given the permission to go to the battlefield? The Imam said, Qasim, tum apne liye poochte ho, mera to asghar bhi shaheed hoga. You're asking about yourself? Even tomorrow, even my asghar is going to be martyred. And they were all shocked and surprised, and they said, are the Ashkiya going to enter the camps and kill Asghar? That was also about to happen, but the Imam did not disclose that part. He said, no, Asghar is not going to be killed like that. I'm going to take Asghar in my hands to the battlefield. And then the tradition says the Imam on the night of Ashur, he read the entire, disclosed the entire Shahadat of Ali Asghar to his companions. And as he was reciting the Shahadat of Ali Asghar, the Imam was crying, the companions were crying, everybody was crying. तो मैं कहूँगा या इमाम जब शहादत असगर का वाक़या सुनाते वक्त आपकी ये हालत थी, तो आपकी हालत उस वक्त कैसे होगी जब आप असगर को अपने हाथों पर लेकर निकले? On the day of Ashur, when the Imam was left all alone and he went into the battlefield, it is said that he would position himself in such a way that the camp was on one side and the enemy soldiers on the other side. He would position himself in the middle so that he could defend the camps himself and attack as well. His jang was different than the battle of his other companions. They would attack the enemy, go deep into the enemy and kill them. They knew Imam is in the camps. Haram ki hifazat karne wala koi maujood hai. But when the Imam went to the battlefield, जानते हैं कि अब हरम की हिफाजत करने वाला कोई नहीं. अपने आप को हमेशा इस तरह रखा हुआ है, पोजीशन किया हुआ है कि दरमियान में है, और आवाज बुलंद करके बार बार ला हौला वला कुव्वता इल्ला बिल्लाहिल अलीयुल अज़ीम, ये जुमले बार बार बुलंद करके अहले हरम को खबर दे रहे हैं कि अभी हुसैन जिंदा है. एक मर्तबा दुश्मनों की एहसासात को, जज्बात को इन्वोक करने के लिए, उभारने के लिए, the Imam wanted to invoke the sentiments of the enemy, so he started and addressed them saying, hal min dhabbin yadhubbu an harami rasulillah, is there anyone who is going to defend the Ahle Haram? There was no positive response from the enemy soldiers, but hue and cry was raised from the camps. The Imam went back to the camp. बीबियों को कहा अभी तो मैं विदा करके आया हूँ. I've just said goodbye to them. Why are you crying aloud? They say, Mawla, when you read this slogan, Hal min dhabbin yadhubbu an harami rasulillah, Ali Asghar becomes distressed in his cradle. Ali Asghar बेताब हो जाते हैं. मेरे मौला ने कहा अली असगर को मेरे हाथों में दो. बहन ज़ैनब अली असगर को मेरे हाथों में दो. He takes Ali Asghar, brings him to the battlefield. अली असगर को battlefield में लेकर आते हैं, and because of the scorching heat of the sun, he covers the body of Ali Asghar with his aba. He comes to the battlefield. They think that Imam Hussain is bringing the Quran. He wants a ceasefire. But Imam Quran nahi la rahe. Quran ki ayat la rahe the. He was bringing an ayat of the Holy Quran, and he turns to the enemy and he said, in lam tarhamuni, if you have no mercy on me, farhamu hazat tifl, at least show mercy on this child. Is tifl pe rahm karo, fasquho shurbatum min al-ma, feed him a sip of water. बच्चे को कितना पानी चाहिए होता है, कुछ कतरे चाहिए, इसको पानी पिला दो. And it is said that when they looked at the lips of Ali Asghar alayhi salatu salam, they saw his lips closing and opening and closing and opening. बिल्कुल उस तरह जिस तरह से मछली पानी से जब बाहर आ जाती है, तो जिस तरह से मछली का मुंह खुलता है, बंद हो जाता है, खुलता है, बंद हो जाता है, इसी तरह से असगर बिलक रहे हैं बाप के हाथों पर. अशकिया में एक इनकलाब आना शुरू हुआ. They started to whisper, why shouldn't we give water to this baby? We are fighting with Imam Hussain. What is the issue with this child? Why don't we give water? Hurmala realized, Umar Saad realized that the revolution is in the making. Asghar ने वो तीर चलाया, असगर ने वो काम कर दिखाया जो किसी दूसरे साहबी ने नहीं किया, किसी दूसरे इमाम के साहिबी ने नहीं किया. हुरमला ने को कहा गया, उमर साद ने हुरमला से कहा, इक्ता कलाम अल हुसैन. He turned to Hurmala and said, finish off his statement, finish off the statement of Imam Hussain alayhi salatu wasalam. Hussain ke kalam ko qat kar do. Hurmala did not understand what Umar Saad had said. He said, do you want me to fire this arrow to Imam Hussain or to this baby of his? कहा, बच्चे की गर्दन की सफेदी नजर नहीं आ रही? Don't you see the whiteness of the neck of Ali Asghar? Hurmala fired his arrow, a three-pronged arrow towards this baby. This baby is in the hands of Imam Hussain alayhi salatu wasalam. The arrow is coming. This is yet another test Imam Hussain alayhi salatu wasalam has to pass. His hands did not shiver. His hands did not tremble. The arrow comes and pierces the neck of Ali Asghar. Imam Hussain takes the blood of Ali Asghar in his hands, and according to one tradition he wipes it over his face. According to another tradition he throws it in the skies, and he turns to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, says, Hawwana alayya ma nazala bi, whatever has come to me, whatever musibat has come to me, it is easy for me, annahu bi'aynillah, because it is in front of your eyes. अल्लाह तेरी आंखों के सामने ये मुसीबत आ रही है. हुसैन के लिए ये मुसीबत आसान है. जब बाप के हाथों पे बेटे का जनाजा हो तो दूसरे लोग आकर सब्र की तलकीन किया करते हैं, लेकिन हुसैन को कौन सब्र दे? अब असहाब में कोई नहीं बचा. रवायत में कई जगह ये जुमले मिलते हैं मक्तल की किताबों पे कि हुसैन ने अपने आप को कहना शुरू किया, इस मेरी सब्र करो हुसैन, इस मुसीबत पे सब्र करो. और फिर ये जनाजा, अभी मुसीबत, अभी इम्तिहान यहीं पर ख़त्म न हुआ था. अब हुसैन को ये जनाजा असगर का खैमे में वापस लेकर जाना है. जब हुरमला को मुख्तार ने गिरफ्तार किया तो मुख्तार से कहा, तू बड़ा शकी शख्स है, बता तुझे करबला में हुसैन पर कभी रहम भी आया या न आया? कभी हुसैन के लिए तेरा दिल दुखा या न दुखा? कहा, एक मौका आया था जब मैं हुसैन पर रोया था. कहा, मैंने करबला में 3 तीर चलाए थे, एक इमाम हुसैन की पेशानी की तरफ, एक अली अकबर की गर्दन की तरफ, उनकी गर्दन और उनके सीने पर, और तीसरा तीर मैंने अली असगर की तरफ चलाया था. हुसैन पे मैं उस वक्त रोया था जब हुसैन के हाथों में 6 माह का जनाजा था. हुसैन खेमे की तरफ जाना चाहते थे. खेमे में मैंने एक औरत को देखा, गालिबन वो असगर की माँ थी जो बेटे के वापस आने का इंतजार कर रही थी. जब हुसैन खेमे के करीब पहुंचे, बेटे के बच्चे की माँ को देखा, हुसैन रुक जाते हैं. इन्ना लिल्लाहि व इन्ना इलैहि राजिऊन कहते हुए पलट आते हैं, फिर दोबारा हिम्मत करते हैं, इन्ना लिल्लाहि व इन्ना इलैहि राजिऊन कहते हुए खैमे की तरफ आते हैं. अला लानतुल्लाहि अलल कौमिज़ ज़ालिमीन. मातबे हुसैन.
Rubab, Rubab, Our Lady, Rubab. Please align the matam. Rubab, Rubab, Our Lady, Rubab. Rubab, Rubab, Our Lady. Everyone. Rubab, Rubab,
Our Lady, Rubab.
You see that infant head on the spear, and how it's slaughtered from ear to ear. You see that infant head on the spear, and how it's slaughtered from ear to ear. He is my baby, Ali-e-Asghar. He is my baby, Ali-e-Asghar. His shahada is inqilab. Rubab, Rubab, Our Lady, Rubab. Everyone, Rubab, Rubab, Our
Lady, Rubab.
You feel the tremors rising again. It is the final breath of Hussain. You feel the tremors rising again. It is the final breath of Hussain. He is my Aqa, the son of Zahra. He is my Aqa, the son of Zahra. He is Allah's intikhab. Rubab, Rubab, Our Lady, Rubab. Everyone. Rubab, Rubab, Our Lady, Rubab. You hear this angel weeping alone. Her cries of Baba challenge the throne. You hear this angel weeping alone. Her cries of Baba challenge the throne. She is Sakina, my little princess. She is Sakina, my little princess. Her Sahara is Buturab. Rubab, Rubab, Our Lady, Rubab. Rubab, Rubab,
Our Lady, Rubab.
Oh, not a single moment of calm from the streets of Kufa to Sham. Oh, not a single moment of calm from the streets of Kufa to Sham. Oh, can you see us, oh our Shia? Oh, can you see us, oh our Shia? At the mercy of every mob. Rubab, Rubab,
Our Lady, Rubab.
Everyone. Rubab, Rubab, Our Lady, Rubab. You smell the fragrance of Mustafa in the tears of Zainul Ibad. You smell the fragrance of Mustafa in the tears of Zainul Ibad. You smell the fragrance of Mustafa in the tears of Zainul Ibad. With every manzil, with every moment, with every manzil, with every moment, he is aging in his shabab. Rubab, Rubab, Our Lady, Rubab. Rubab, Rubab,
Our Lady, Rubab.
Oh, for your noble resistance, Hussain, I would offer my 2 kids again. Oh, for your noble resistance, Hussain, I would offer my 2 kids again. But for your trampled, unshrouded body, but for your trampled, unshrouded body, I will stand under the sun and sob. O Mero Bab, O Mero Bab, O Our Lady, O Mero Bab, O Mero Bab, O Mero Bab, O Our Lady, O Mero Bab, O Mero Bab, O Mero Bab, O Our Lady, O Mero Bab, O Mero Bab, O Mero Bab, O Our Lady, O Mero Bab. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Mu'mineen, we will have a brief question and answer session based on the Majlis of today. You can enter your questions through slido.com. Muharram 2023 is the code, no space. Or you can raise the questions from the audience. Inshallah, we will have 5 minutes for the question and answer session. Thank you. Huh?
Raise your hands and the mic will get to you. Online, go ahead.
Moulana Syed, you have been reminding us from the day one that wealth and children, they are the tests as well. That's why probably Imam Ali has said that so my question is that what should be the deliberate attempt about wealth especially that would be applicable on kids as well? Should we try to get rid of that?
No. Wealth is a test. So you need to pass this test and not tear the question paper. Right? So you need to attempt and jump into it and use wealth in a manner that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has advised you to, has commanded you to. Same with your children. Do their tarbiyat and make them, if they're intelligent, provide them opportunity to learn religion and be practicing Islam abiding citizens. That is your duty in regards to children, and through that you will get closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and pass that test. So it is not seeking children so that you can, make more money or having wealth and then you are not able to fulfill the obligations on that. So you need to know and be aware of the obligations that comes with wealth and children. We find there are du'as which we are recommended to ask Allah for, for these blessings. But you need to, and even in the Holy Quran, Allah uses the word khair for wealth. In the ayat of wasiyah in hazara ahdukumul maut. So if wealth comes to you in taraka khairan, if that person leaves khair means your wealth. So wealth is termed as khair. It's not something bad. The way you engage with this wealth, in simple words, if wealth becomes the objective, it is bad. If it becomes a means, then it's okay. Then it is going to take you closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Same with children.
But here Moses
The dua was regarding a wazir. And it is okay for a prophet or anybody to request Allah to appoint somebody as their helper and their wazir. The decision rests with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So that is what we believe, that the appointment has to come from Allah. You can request, you can pray, you can desire that, but the decision, final decision is Allah's. The Prophet Musa did not make him wasi himself. He did not take him as wasi himself. He requested Allah to appoint him as a wasi.
So my question, Moulana Sahib, is that you beautifully explained about the Imam Hussein's answer to the query of where he says that the people who will envy us will be jahil and the people who will envy Yazid will be more wise. But the people who will be envying Yazid will be fewer, as they call it. So while he was being told that the quantity matters, he told quality matters. But then the question is that this is always true that Johara would be always in abundance. So if I were to make a choice, I would go with the least, with the guys who would believe in the minimum, right? So is this always true? Because, or is this a...
Not necessarily, might not necessarily, the criteria is truth. And qallat dayanun, religious people are going to be limited. But you have 50 people on this side, 100 people on this side, it does not necessarily mean that this is right. Numbers are not going to be the deciding factor. Yes, naturally that is how it ends up being, but not always. That is not the criteria. Numbers is not the criteria. If there are no more questions, Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.